Zero Foxtrot does not profess to share or promote the opinions and beliefs expressed by show host or guests. The Stay Zero podcast was created to provide a platform for servicemen and women to share their stories. Due to the nature of this podcast, sensitive topics will arise. Conversations about combat, PTSD, drug use, and other such subjects will occur. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the Stay Zero podcast. I have Justin Governale here, Marine sniper, working for, you were at Black Rifle for a little while.
Yeah, 4.5 years.
Yeah. And Naked and Afraid, 2 challenges. And now you're a stand-up comic and motivational speaker.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
Yeah, dude. Stay motivated,
awesome. Dude. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Super normal now, you know?
So let's start with your Marine time. You were in the Marine Corps? You were a sniper as well?
Scout sniper with 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines. I did my deployment to Haditha with them in 2005. And then I went as a sniper in 2007 by Karma.
We were kind of in the same area. I went through Karma in 04.
Oh, man, it was crazier back then, I assume.
When did you go through?
2005 Haditha, 2007 by Karma.
In Karma.
Yeah, man. I just did the 3-1 reunion.
That's right. You went to speak with them.
Yeah.
How did that go?
I do whatever. I do comedy. I've done a corporate gig for USA. It was rad, dude. It's super cool. I get nervous, but I don't get super nervous. And then for this one, there was no stage, there was no microphone, and that's not what made me nervous. What made me nervous was, they're like, hey man, we would love for you to be our guest speaker. You've been killing it. I have the 3-1 bull tattooed on my stomach. They're like, it's perfect. You represented on TV. You did well, blah, blah. And then I get to this room and there's a freaking Iwo Jima Silver Star recipient and Purple Heart recipient, very old. And then there's another 3-1 Marine that lost his leg in Korea, right?
Yeah.
And, they're like, speak to everyone, all these Fallujah veterans. And so I get nervous because normally I'm like, hey, what's going on? I have some stuff to talk about. And I get up there and I'm like, I'm a bitch. What's going on?
How did it go?
Am I able to swear on this, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
It's Zero Fucks.
Okay. Okay, right on. Yeah,
company.
Sometimes they're like, hey man, watch the F-bombs.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
But yeah, man, it was dope. And I just talked about kind of accountability, right, is the only thing. Like when dudes get out of the Marine Corps, it's like, why were you not fat when you're in the Marine Corps and now you're just fat and you can't get anything done? And it's like 2 things: adapt and overcome. You fail to do so, right? You can do so in the field with a fork and a jelly bean and a boot band. You could do more with less. And then you get out and you have a phone which has all the information you need and you can call who you need to call, and people fail to adapt and overcome. Can you imagine if you were in the field and they're like, hey, figure out how to do A, B, and C, and you're just like, boom, right?
Yeah.
And so, I talked about that, and the reason why people get fat is your sergeant or whoever was in charge of you would not allow you to, right? They'd hold you accountable. Hey, be here at 6 and we're going to run. And then people get out and they don't hold themselves accountable and they just become fat. And then by the time you know it.
You feel like some of that's a lack of a mission.
Yeah.
We're prepping for the missions that we're expecting to be assigned, right? And then the facing of an enemy or a foe or a hurdle to get through. And then when you get out, there's really not, at least not that you can put a name or a face to. The mission, I guess, would then just be life. And that's so broad. How do you prepare for that?
I think you need purpose.
Sure.
Right. Another thing I talked about, and I'm not going to say his name, this guy was in charge of me long time ago, right? And he did Fallujah. I did not. I'm a boot, right? And he calls me one day and he's like, hey, what's going on, Governale? And I'm like, hey, what's up, man? I was pulling in my parking space. I lived in California. And he's like, hey, motherfucker, you're going to listen and you're not going to say a fucking word. Do you understand me? And I was like, yeah, what's up, man? And he just kind of is crying on the phone with me. And I got to keep my emotions low when I'm talking about this. But the guy was telling me I've killed plenty of people, in Fallujah, but there's one in particular where he said that they leveled a house and there was a basement. And he's like, man, I heard a guy screaming. So he's like, I lobbed a 203 in there. And then he said, you know, the screams got louder and everybody was like laughing as Marines do in those kind of weird situations. And then he said that there came a time when he was no longer trying to kill a guy to like kill the enemy. He was literally like, please stop screaming, right? So he said he just kept lobbing 203s down there, and then finally he threw a grenade and the screams got less and less. And the last grenade he threw, the scream stopped. And he said that he was relieved and he was like joking and walking around acting like but in reality he was like, you know, sickened by it. So he said out of all the things he did in the military, he's on the phone with me crying and he's like, I can't fucking, that guy, he haunts me in my dreams, man. And fucking, he's like kind of crying on the phone with me. And I'm like, I didn't experience that. You know, I've had my own experiences, but that's pretty intimate. So he starts saying, how do you do it, man? How did cause at the time I was fighting professionally. I think I just fought for like Bellator. And so he's like, how do you do it? You're doing so well. And dude, we've all got our struggle, you know, we all have our things we struggle with. And the only thing that I could think of to say in that moment was you have to find a purpose. For me, it was fighting. And I was like, well, what do you want to do? And he said, what do you mean? What have you always wanted to do? And then crazy, dude, he said, I've always wanted to start a garden. And I'm like, okay, then what's stopping you? He's like, I don't know. Then he's like crying on the phone with me. He also was like a heavy drinker at the time. So he says, I've always wanted to start a garden. And I said, okay, then this is what we're going to do. You're going to hang up the phone. You're going to go to Home Depot. You're going to go buy the stuff you need. And we're going to start. And I'm going to call you on Monday. I'm going to hold you accountable, right? I didn't say it. Did not realize that's what I was doing at the time. But this guy's in charge of me back in the day. And now the tables have kind of turned. I'm like, what are you going to do? You're going to do this. And I'm going to call you tomorrow. And he said, listen, I promise I can't tomorrow. I have to do something with my kid. But I promise on anything on Monday, I'm going to do it. I'm like, all right. And so I called him or I texted him, did you do it? And he sends me photos and I'm like, awesome, brother, you know. So we really didn't keep in contact a whole lot. I kind of like talked him off that ledge. And then like, you know, a year later or something, I don't know how long it was, but he posts this update on Facebook and it was beautiful, dude. It was like, so excited. I made salsa for my family. Everything in this salsa was grown here. And, you know, he did his garden and he made a salsa for his family. But it wasn't the biggest, you know, thing. But for him, he said, like, I've always wanted to start a garden, right? And he did it. And so what I'm saying is the garden's like the metaphor, right? For me, it was fighting. Fighting's not for everyone. I could sit here and be like, you need jujitsu, you need fighting, you need a garden. And the guy started doing art too, right? But everybody is almost like they're attached to their own identity, obviously. And so I'll be like, try shooting competitions, man. It'll change your life. And so I think what it boils down to is just finding a purpose. Because in the military, it was pretty simple. You know, it's hard, but it's simple, right? Mission, boom, right? Situation, mission, fucking wish.
Osmiak.
Yeah, execution.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, you want to know what's funny? A funny random story, funny segue. My brain goes in a million directions. I did a board in the Marine Corps, right? And it was funny because I was in snipers and nobody is good garrison-wise. And so they're like, we need one volunteer from a platoon to go on meritorious, you know, corporal promotion.
Yeah.
And I was picking up corporal in like 2 months, dude. So I'm like, no, don't pick me. And I was like the garrison turd of my platoon. We all were, but I was like significantly.
The sniper platoon was the garrison turds.
But I was like, you know, I just didn't care, dude.
Yeah.
I would be missing a button and would use yarn to tie it and it would open and people would be like, God damn it, Governale, right? And so they're like, you're going to go to the board and I have to fix my camis and get a haircut. And I'm like, no. And they're all laughing because they're like, this is going to be hilarious. So I go to this board and they ask me all these random questions about like the uniform and where the placement is on the chevrons for the females, you know, attire. And I don't know any answers. And so for all 10 questions, I just looked at whoever and I was like, I do not know, First Sergeant. Right. And then they'd start laughing. And then like question 4, question 5 comes around and they're like, oh God. Oh, and they're literally all laughing. It's like a gunny and like 2 first sergeants. And they're just slamming the table like, no, dude. Oh God. Okay. Have you read the paper that we put out? We put out this paper. Have you read it with the current events? Let me guess. Probably not. And then I'm like, I did not, First Sergeant, you know, and they're all like, this is going to be great. They're slamming the table. And they're like, did you hear about this tornado or whatever that killed it? And I was like, I did not. So then they get to the most basic, it was like question 9 or 10. And because I bombed on every single question and I said, I do not know for literally every question, the last question was, what does BAMSIS mean? Right? Which I know what BAMSIS is. And I knew at the time, but I just bombed all 9 questions and they were literally laughing with like tears in their eyes, slapping the table, that I just panicked. And they're like, what is BAMSIS? Right? And I was just like, I do not know. Gunnery Sergeant. And they were like screaming of laughter, smacking the table. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. And I was like, all right. But I did my pacing and I walked away. And then I came back to my platoon and I told them and they were like, it's fucking hilarious. They're like, yes. And I'm like, I'm picking up corporal in 2 months, dude. Why did you do this? And they're like, because it's hilarious. So anyway, random segue. But don't even know where I'm going with that shit. But yeah, man, fucking, we just need purpose, dude. And if you find purpose, I think
everybody has their interests in, you know, what draws them. And if they don't know, then just start saying yes to things. Like find an adventure and you'll find something that excites you and then pursue that.
Yeah.
And you helped him take action to something that he had clearly only given thought to until, and that's awesome, man. That's cool. You did that for him.
Say yes, man. Would you kiss another man? Just say yes, dude.
Probably not that, but
damn it.
We're not all gay, Governale.
Marines, dude. I have a whole bit on the Marine Corps making me gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it?
Not
really.
I mean, I'm not going to deliver it because it's different when you have a crowd. You like pause, right? But essentially, I just say like I served in the Marine Corps during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. However, the Marines made me gay, and then I'll
you ever play gay chicken?
Yeah, dude. I was champ, dude.
I heard don't play that with the Brits. They'll take it way too far.
Oh yeah, man. I contracted in Afghanistan in 2010. 2008 to like whatever. It was like 2009 to like 2010 or something. I don't know. It was like 2 years, 2008 to 2010. And the Brits were fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
And they do stuff like, dude, and like obviously these people don't represent the entire population.
Sure.
But they'll literally like Marines would do something kind of gay and funny. They'd be like, oh yeah. And they would like look at the other one and then they'd be like, and their tongues would stick out and they'd be like, and their tongues would just, and be like, what? And then you're like, no.
You win.
No.
You win.
And like, yeah, man, they're crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I was there, I don't know if you remember this, like 2009, 2010, when they had the incidents in Afghanistan with like the hazing, the gay hazing. And
no.
So the reason we are not allowed to drink as contractors overseas is because of a company that was called AGNA. Armor Group North America back in the day. You can Google it, look it up.
I remember them, yeah.
So I worked for them. I actually did not partake in any of this stuff. But I'd be lying if I say I didn't see it, right? And yeah, it was a trip, man. I was like in the break room, you know, and we would have this break room where we'd have to chill for 4 hours, like in case of like a bomb went off, we'd like run off or whatever. And they used to make us do this mandatory training, some sort of training in those 4 hours. It had to be like, so we're not just sitting around, right?
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. What's that? Busy work, yeah. And so they're like, hey, we're going to go do a class on the saw, which I'm not going to sit here. By no means do I know everything, but put one in front of me right now. I still know how to distance. It doesn't matter. Like, I know how to use the weapon system. And they're like, we're going to do another class on the saw. And I'm like, and then I look at the TV and everybody goes to do the mandatory training. And as I'm watching the TV, I'm looking and I'm like, what the hell? And I see everybody that I work with completely naked, blurred out, with their eyes blurred and their privates blurred. And they were like around campfires and stuff and they were hugging and everyone's naked. And I'm like, and they're like, Governale, get over here. They call me Ears, is my call sign. Ears, get over here. And I'm like, no, you get over here. And the caption on CNN says, mercenaries gone wild.
Wow.
Right? And it shows all my coworkers naked and freaking, I was like, no, you get over here. He's like, just hurry up. Let's just get it over with. I'm like, no, motherfucker, you get over here. And he's like, this better be, holy shit. And like everybody just sits down in the break room and I'm watching everything unfold. We're at the USMC in Kabul. And there was a disgruntled employee because like weird shit would happen. It wasn't necessarily hazing, but guys were doing, like at one moment, I remember they said, hey, come here, we're going to do the map of Africa, which means like you pee yourself and we're going to take a photo because it looks like Africa, right? And I remember looking at everyone in the photo. I'm going like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And everyone was like, pussy. And they're all talking shit at me. And I was like, all right, cool. Because everybody would just drink. All males, 0 females doing stupid. One guy gets naked. The next one gets naked, whatever, right? And so I remember I said no specifically to that photo. And so I'm watching the fucking TV and it's flashing through pictures. And that fucking photo pops up of all my friends hugging with piss on their pants, broad daylight. And I'm like, holy shit. Thank God I didn't get in that picture, right? So we get back and they take all of our weapons. Like we had to check all our stuff into the armory in Kabul.
Yeah, before you're fired.
Well, I did not get fired.
Okay.
What they did was in the upcoming days, they brought in like an actual, I think it was like an attorney general or something. Like, it was like, because it was government funds, right? Paying all of us.
Sure.
And yeah, they brought in like an actual federal agent. Excuse me. And they gave me a manila folder and they threw it on the table. And they're like, do you know these men? Uncensored. I'm seeing all my friends naked, which like it was the first time I've seen them naked, right? Like whatever. And so they throw down the folder and I'm going through the photos and I'm like, oh my God. And they're all serious, like, do you know these men? And I'm trying not to laugh because some of the stuff was just ridiculously gay, but funny, right? Like it's not, whatever. I have to be all careful because of today's society. I got to tiptoe, but I'm just being real, whatever. Hilarious photos. Pretty gay, but hilarious. And I'm biting my cheeks, just trying not to laugh. And I'm like, yeah, I know these men, right? And they're like, did you see anything? And I was like, nope. And they're like, did you partake? I'm like, nope. And they're like, okay, you're not going to, okay, get out of here, right? And I leave. And so they had a file of like they had a folder that was just a bunch of photos. And anybody that even came out in one of these pictures, fired, never working for the U.S. government again. I was not one of them because I remember, like, I was a crazy kid, but even at that age, I was like, let me just go that way while all this is happening.
Good call.
Yeah, and this is me covering up professionally. On the same notion, I'm not a freaking square, dude. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I did not see so I can protect my name. Like, you see things, you laugh, crazy shit happens overseas, and everyone's all just fucked up from going to Iraq and Afghanistan. They're like, one dude had been, he got shot 3 times, and when he tells his story, one of the guys that got fucked, right, he was just being a crazy Marine, right, and he's like naked in some of those photos. They fried him, right?
Yeah.
And dude got shot 3 times. He told me a story when he got shot. It's not my story to tell, but he said that they were like in Ramadi in like 2004 or 5, and they just got attacked real hard. And then they're like, first guy got up on the gun, gets hit, starts screaming. The next guy gets up on the gun. He's like saying that he's in the back seat, hears bullets clinking on the vehicle. And he said, dude, guy pops up. He said he slumped like a sack of potatoes, and it was like his best friend just looking at him like dead. He's like, his eyes were open, but he was dead. And then the guy was on the radio, the last other person not wounded, and he pointed at him and he goes, get that fucking gun up, like knowing that there's a wounded and a deceased. And he said that he just took a couple breaths, like, whew, whew, and then he popped up and he started going. He's like, I felt it, but I just kept going. Pretty badass, right?
Yeah, man.
But how do you come back from that? And that was already the second time he was injured. He was already been injured by a mortar. And I remember we're going through the airport in Dubai, and he kept getting popped on the metal detector, right? And then they pulled him aside, and they're like, yeah. And he was like, I have metal in my body. And he was like joking around, right? But what I'm saying is, like, dude, give the guy some slack. Like, now he's a contractor overseas doing what we're supposed to do, right? And God forbid he had a couple beers and gets freaking naked.
Yeah,
and
there's a caliber of person that is required to go to war.
Yeah.
It isn't going to be your valedictorian.
Yeah.
It's going to be the guy that probably broke the rules.
Oh, 2,000%. I say
that's
that all the time.
who you need in war. A guy who can see outside the box, that can break some rules, that can do the things that scare most people, and go fight. And yeah, we had very different contracting experiences. There was none of that.
But at the time,
I was at.
bro, and it was what's a trip is like, I'm saying, because they got caught doing that. On the same note, dude, on our days off, we used to they would pick us up in a 4Runner, right? I remember when I just got there, it was Australia Day. And this is me, I've talked about this before, but dude, it's fucking Australia Day. And on your days off, when you have 3 days off, they're like, do whatever you want out in town, but be back by midnight. Just check out. And there's only like one vehicle per shift that can leave. So like people would fight over like, oh, we're going to take the car, right? But dude, we would take pistols, no body armor, and we just drive around Kabul. There's fucking underground bars at the time, right? I could say this, people are going to scrutinize no matter what I say. I'm just being fucking raw, dude. There's fucking underground bars, right? And you go and you would walk in, it was Australia Day, and there was Afghans on the roof with AKs. They could have mowed us down. Right. But you get there and it's all these like US diplomats and shit and like people from USAID and UN and whatever. And they were playing like competitions. They were playing, they're doing like goat races for Australia Day, and they would tie a flag around a different goat and they'd make them race. And the Australians were losing. And so, because it's Australia Day, so they ran up and they picked up the goat and started like running it. And then somebody tackled them and the poor goat's just getting thrown around. And I remember thinking like, oh, that poor goat. That's what I was thinking, right? And dude, they would play like competitions where they would do, there was like males and females just making out, partying. Dude, we're in a fucking war zone, bro. Where everyone's just drinking, wasted, not just drunk. I'm talking fucking wasted. All blue badgers, all in fucking suits. I'm sure you've seen that kind of shit too, right?
They were untouchable. They could do whatever they wanted to do. And so State Department is
and months
out
prior,
of control.
Months prior, the battalion that I was in, I mean, I felt guilty for getting out of the Marine Corps. I got out because I was, whatever. I got to tiptoe around what I say. I went to trial for something. I got off. I didn't do anything wrong, but it was bullshit. We're getting tried with something for doing our job as snipers, facing a court-martial hearing, and then we get off. And then like 2 days later, they're like, hi, do you want to re-enlist? I'll give you 75 grand tax. I was like, fuck you guys right now. I'm not re-enlisting. Like, you guys are trying to fry me for doing my job. So I get out, and then my battalion goes to like on a MEU. They weren't going to combat. So I'm like, I'll get out. And then the next deployment, they go to Afghanistan, and they lost some guys, man. Guy in my platoon lost both legs. Guy in my other platoon lost 4 limbs. Another dude in my platoon got killed. Like, whatever, man. Like, all these things happen. I feel like I genuinely feel guilty, right? And I just am like, fuck, dude, I can't believe I got out. I feel like a piece of shit, really. And here I am in Afghanistan in a fucking war zone with all the people making decisions, partying, getting drunk, wasted, making out. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck? I'm making 100+ grand a year, dude. And I'm like, this sucks. I'm not really in any serious danger, really. I mean, like, some car bombs went off, but it wasn't like crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And fucking A, dude, that was my first time where my wheels started turning. But yeah, I used to go out to these random bars or events like this, and we just drive around in a 4Runner. And I remember like we'd hit a point where there'd be like a charred vehicle, like burnt to a crisp from like the day before. Oh yeah, avoid this traffic circle. V-bid went off yesterday. And we're just fucking kind of drunk with my pistol in Kabul. And I'm like thinking to myself, this is fucking cool. I'm like 23, 24, making 100 grand, 100+ grand, tax-free to like whatever amount it was. Every 62 days, paid vacation with a free flight anywhere in the world. Dope.
Yeah.
But there's people out there dying. And then there's other people making fucking decisions, just partying, dude. And I'm like, what the fuck? That was my first time my wheels started spinning. So we still did our job. I never like fucked off on my job. I was a DDM for the USMC, and I would fucking look around and do what I had to do. Just a trip. Yeah, that was my contracting experience as a trip.
Yeah, man. State Department was not fun to work for. It was like a whole bunch of college kids watched House of Cards and thought that they were going to be the next big strategist. And every week was just a big keg party. All they would do is blow a bunch of money, get super hammered drunk. There was no consequences for anything that they did. But if they got mad at a contractor, usually because they wanted a chick, and if she liked one of the contractors, he would get him fired so that guy was out of the picture and then pursue the girl.
Yeah.
And man, we
weren't allowed to talk to them, dude. I remember.
Oh, no, yeah.
One time there was a dude, I forgot what he said, something offensive. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, a super nice conversation with him. Next day he's fucking gone. Mm-hmm. He said something a Blue Badger didn't like. Mm-hmm. And this isn't me, like, I'm just speaking truth, man. I'm not being opinionated on this. I'm not saying like, well, you know, I want an agenda. I want everyone to know. I'm just speaking, man. I'm just speaking the truth.
What happened?
It's fucking gnarly, dude. Yeah. You know, and then I did that for like almost 2 years. And then I hit a moment where I'm like, I want to go fight. And I just fucking booked a one-way ticket to Thailand and had 2 fights out there. I was training like 6 hours a day. It was great.
Yeah. So you did some fight. You were fighting for Bellator, right?
I had one fight for them.
Okay.
Like 2015, I won. And then they started calling me back on like 3-day notice, like, because I took that one on an 8-day notice. But what nobody else knew is I was training for another fight, and I was in the best shape of my life, actually.
So you're prepared for it.
Super.
Yeah.
So they're like, call this guy off the couch. Like, yeah. Can you make?
I can just step up. You were already ready.
I was literally going to fight in like 1 day, 1 or 2 days. 1 day. 2 days.
Yeah.
I was fighting in 2 days. So I'm about to make my hard weight cut. And my coach calls me. He's like, hey, where are you at on weight? And I'm like lying to him like, oh, I only have this much to go. He's like, hey, stop cutting. We have another fight, 8 days. Stay checked in. Fighting for Bellator. Other fight got scrapped. And I was like, oh shit. You know, and I was fighting for like Gladiator Challenge or something. So they were like, they understood. Like, okay, take this other opportunity. I did. And I went out and I got the piss beat out of me for the first 5 minutes. And the second one, I cracked him, dropped him, I choked him. It was dope.
Awesome.
It's fucking sick.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I remember when I got back and reached out to you for Naked and Afraid, and you rogered up. I'll be honest, I was nervous because you said, like, I don't have a lot of survival experience, but just like you said,
it's all mental, dude.
It's all mental, right? And if you can handle the suck, which is kind of what the Marine Corps really does teach you, is how to endure the suck. How did you prepare for your first, let's talk your first challenge. Where did you go? How did you prep for it? And what was that like?
I went to Guyana, right? It's in South America. A lot of Americans are like, Guyana, where's that? And you're like, South America, you know, borders Venezuela. You know, they're like,
aim south.
North of Brazil. They're like, huh? What? Yeah. I was in Guyana. Technically, it's not the Amazon, but it's pretty much the Amazon. It's like a technicality, but it's pretty much, it's literally the same. There's like a technicality in there that makes it not the Amazon, but pretty much the Amazon. It was just dope, dude. It was so sick.
Was that your first time down to South America?
No, that was my, third time.
Okay.
Right.
Was it your first time in a jungle?
No. I mean, I lived in Thailand for 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Right. Booked a trip, I paid for, like, as I mentioned.
But not naked camping in the woods.
Yeah, definitely not. It's also, it was different, man. It was different.
What did that experience do for you?
So for one, you can watch that first episode. I complained 0 times, right? That's not fake. That's real. And I remember I talked to you and you're like, if you give them an inch, you give them one fucking thing.
Yeah.
Which I learned on the second time that I was on there.
Yeah. You give them ammo, they're going to use it. And
yeah.
I see people complain, I just got a bad edit. I was like,
Bro, did you not bitch for 2 seconds? You fucking did.
Yeah.
You said that. Did you not say that? That's weird because you're saying it. You fucking said it. You know?
And it's
just like this
they
podcast,
can only
right?
use what you give them.
Yeah.
Like if you don't give them that shitty content, then they can't make you look shitty.
Yeah.
And you didn't, man. You held it together fucking beautifully.
Yeah. So the whole time I was on there, I was like, I swear to you, dude, I was like, this is my way out of salary. I thought that the entire fucking time. I'm like, this is why I am out of salary, right? And you got to do all this shit to like motivate yourself. Like one day it fucking, oh my God, bro. Like one day it rained for 6 fucking hours, dude. It was so bad. And we had like little holes in our shit. It was just fucking miserable, bro. It wasn't miserable. Yeah. Did I show that I was miserable? Fuck no, dude. Equanimity, right? And like, I just sat there Indian style and I just like, you got to find ways to motivate yourself. So my whole thing is I was like, yeah, dude, this is going to be on TV. It's my way out of salary. And I literally just sat and I just went like this, right? And I just breathed and it's kind of did yoga in a way, like kind of meditated. And I was like, somehow, some way, Joe Rogan's going to watch this episode or this is going to lead me to Joe Rogan. I'm that's what's going to fucking happen, right? Like whatever it takes to like pull yourself out of like, I am fucking cold and miserable. Life sucks. I still have fucking 6 days out here. Like you could think like that, or you could just eat false motivation. They say false motivation kills. False motivation also fucking motivates. So shut the fuck up. You know, false motivation kills, Marie. Shut up, bitch. Shut up. Find a way. I don't lie to yourself.
I think you need a mantra of some kind, something that resonates with you that'll keep you going. And it's got to be bigger than yourself. Like when I was out there on my own, I felt like I could endure my own suffering far more than if I was watching somebody that I loved and cared about suffer. I would have been far more motivated. And so you need that motivation. For me, it was, I want to give some kind of record for my son to watch. in the event, because I was still working in Kabul at the time, and the Taliban were threatening the next Tet offensive, and my wife actually told me, like, I feel like you're not coming home each time you leave again. I'm like preparing for you to be killed over there. And in my own mind, it's like, well, before that happens, then I need to show my kid like the reality of how the sausage is made, because all he's going to hear is the good things, and nobody talks shit about the dead guy. Right? Like, no one's going to tell my kid that I sucked at CQB when I was at PGI. Like, in the vetting, I had to ask all the SEALs, like, hey, man, what are you thinking when you go into this room? Because we didn't do CQB as snipers in the Marine Corps.
No, fuck no.
Fuck
dude.
no. So, and now I'm running rooms with teams, you know, doing all that shit. I had to learn it on the fly in the vetting, as you're familiar with that. And so I wanted to leave that some kind of record so he would know. Like, this is my dad actually struggling through some shit. Not just, he did Naked and Afraid. Okay, well, watch me fuck it up 10 times and starve. And, like, it isn't easy.
It's a platform, bro. Like, that's all it, like.
For sure.
That's why I treated the whole thing. I was like, someone's going to see me out here. And sure enough, right, like, they ended up calling me back, and I got a whole ass season, right? I was on... it was 8 episodes. I technically was on all 8 episodes because I died off on episode 7, right?
Yeah.
I was like fucking in the water. Like, and they said I had a 102 fever. I had a 104 fever anyway, for the record. But yeah, like,
you look pretty miserable, man. That was rough.
Yeah,
I watched it last week, and
it was, I mean,
that was still 21 days, right? But you had a lot more people.
Yeah.
What was that dynamic like?
It's dope, dude.
You started with 2 girls.
Yeah, it was dope. It was fucking dope. Both attractive, right?
Yeah.
I even made a joke. I was like, naked and afraid. I was like, right now I'm just naked, right? And whatever. Without, I mean, I did sign an NDA and all that stuff, but like, I had a what's the word I'm looking for? I had a very close relationship with one of them, right? Is what I'm getting at. And you know, they can only put so much on TV in the hours, but like, yeah, dude, it's fucking dope. Like, I had zero issues. They were asking me questions like, what do you feel like being with 2 females? I was like, it's fucking rad, dude. You know, I grew up with my mom. I say it all the time. I slept on floors growing up, you know, till I was 11 years old. I bounced home to home. It was just what you had to do. There was no, hey, mom, when am I getting a bed? I didn't even realize that it was an issue to get a bed. I remember just thinking to myself, man, one day I'm like, dude, can you imagine getting your own room? That would be cool. There was no like, this is fucked up, right? It was just like, you're a kid. You're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just do it. And then, yeah, so I grew up with my mom, and then like I had a lot of cousins that were females. We'd move in, and you know, they were like the first house that I lived in. They had 3 girls, and so they were like, I didn't even realize it at the time. Right now, we live in this society where I mean, I don't give a fuck. Like they would like dress me up like a girl. Had no idea they were like fucking with me, and I would be like, yeah, attention, and they dress me up like a chick and put makeup, and I'd be like fucking looking all sexy, and like then those surface later on in life, and I was like, hey, whoa, fucking, where'd you get that?
I have to see some of those photos.
Yeah, dude, hilarious. I was a fucking cute little girl, dude. But
so you were comfortable at least having the females there with you. Where was your second one at?
The second one was actually, I can't.
You can't say?
No, not the second.
Oh, it didn't say where it was? Okay.
No,
it was called
know.
Castaway. So I know you were on an island. I'll be honest, like when I saw
Central America is all I could say.
Yeah. That sounded like an awesome challenge.
It was fucking dope.
You were given no tools, which sucks, donkey balls, but y'all could use anything that you found for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Which there's tons of
Bro,
just
so
trash,
it's
on the
disgusting.
islands. Like you could find almost
I saw
anything.
on Reddit, dude, people were talking all this shit like, yeah, right, there's no way you're going to find this jug or whatever. Bro, it was fucking... If anything, there's too much.
Just a
bro, if anything, there was
dumpster.
too much trash.
Yeah.
And we'd be like, I wonder if we can use this. And then whatever. Again, I can't say too much, but they're like, you're not using a fucking, right, whatever.
I'm sure there was limitations on things because if a house washes up, they're not going to let you use it.
Yeah, hey, fucking live in this home. Like, it's crazy. There's a landslide like down the street, you know. But it was definitely isolated. I know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's honestly kind of sad to see how much fucking trash there is, dude. You can literally find crazy, like random shit out there, and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, I bet about 100 years ago, when people were being marooned on islands, they would have given anything for some trash.
Yeah,
that's a good perk now. There's trash everywhere.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Fucking, this is gonna end up in the ocean, dude. Drink up.
I'll be honest. I wish I could have done that one with you. I think that one was super cool. And I don't know. Hopefully we can do one. Are you open to doing another one?
Yeah, man.
I think we.
I mean, now it's become, you know, to be real. This last one, I'm like, I'm gonna do a second one, and I'm done. But I can't end on an L, dude. I can't fucking.
You've got a redemption out there.
And even then, they literally forced me off. They were like, "You're done. You're going home." And I was like, "I'm not leaving." And somebody again, they made a comment on Reddit, like, "Can you believe the producer like swore at him, like you're getting off this fucking island or something?" And then people were like, "Wow, so rude." And I actually jumped in and defended them. I was like, "Hey, you guys missed like the fucking 3-hour argument of me just throwing a tantrum and being like, I'm not leaving." And they're like, "You are." And I was like, "I'm not." And they're like, "Justin, you can barely walk." I'm like, "I don't care." And then I said something like, "I would rather die than quit." And they're like, "We believe you. We believe you. That's why you're going to a fucking hospital." And I'm like, huh. And then I even said that on Reddit. I was like, "I would rather die than quit." And someone's like, "A true leader knows when to quit." And I was like, that is the stupidest fucking statement I've ever heard in my life. And again, going back to snipers aren't fucking tier 1, dude. We're not fucking special operations, but we're pretty fucking tough. I'll tell you, 1,000%. I've never met like a weak sniper, I guess, personally.
Sure.
At least in my time frame. I've heard some different things right now, but that's another story. Anyway, yeah, dude, it's like you will not fucking quit. That's the whole indoc. You don't have to be the best at anything you do. You don't have to be the fastest. They even say like, we don't care if we tell you to run up that fucking hill. I don't care if you take 2 hours to get there. If you're still running and your feet are barely running and you're still, then we want a guy, like that's what we need. That was the whole thing in the sniper community. We just want somebody that is not going to quit. Yeah. Everything else can be taught.
Prove to them you don't have a quit button.
Yeah, that's it.
You're good to go.
Do not fucking quit. Until this day, I've never quit anything in my life.
Yeah.
I've been tapped out in a fight. I'm also very conscious of my capabilities, right? And as I was getting choked, I'm fighting out of it. And for a moment, I was like, just fucking go to sleep. And like, no matter how hard, like, it's just like, you understand when a choke is in. It's one thing to be like, no more. And it's another thing to be like, everything's blacking out. And then I like look up at the fucking TV and it's like 141 left. And I'm like, 1,000% not getting out of this. So I could go to sleep and get like that, all that's going through your head in like a split second as you're defending. You're like, I could go to sleep and maybe the ref fucks up and maybe I don't wake up, or you could just you're not getting out of this. And you're like, that's not quitting. That's like you messed up. You made a mistake and you're like,
well, I think that's lost. The same thing of what your challenge was and just how you know when it is appropriate to tap. They knew you had a legit issue. And what was you had some amoebas or you had some
amoebas, had parasites.
Like
it's fucking great.
That could have killed you.
Yeah, I guess.
And there ain't nothing over there worth dying for, man.
Yeah, I get it. I also don't want to die.
It's also, there's the pressure because it's on television, right? You know, you're representing the community. You don't want to look like a bitch. You don't want to tap out. Nobody wants to tap out. And so
I don't want to die.
Yeah.
On the same note, people, bro, I've been to fucking 38 countries. I fucking have been to like 5 in the military. The rest were my own. I went to El Salvador when like the year prior, it was like the murder capital of the world. And I read an article, someone's like, hey, you can travel here now. I was like, fucking, I'm gonna go see for myself. And I went and I hitchhiked and shit, like fucking rad, dude. And people, aren't you scared? Like, well, fucking, yeah, a little, dude. But if I die, man. And I guarantee you, more than likely, I'm not gonna die. Excuse me. And when I come back from this, I'm gonna have some rad fucking stories, like dope, dude. And that's what I feel like living is in general.
Yeah. Know? Has that been your chase or your journey?
Yeah, man. That's
excitement.
Yeah. And so that's why when I was out there, I was like, fuck it. Like if I like, and also, you know, in your head, you're like, I know they're not going to let me die. I'm not stupid. Right. So what sense does it make? Like they're not going to let you die, but they'll let you fucking quit. And which one's going to hurt more? I mean, if you die, you're not here and everybody's going to watch you on TV. You know how many likes I'll get if I fucking died out there, right? A, B, everyone's going to remember.
Your death would be viral.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, in more ways than
one. They probably fucked the whole show over too. They haven't had any contestants die out there. I can only imagine what would happen if that really did occur. Yeah, let's not jinx anything, knock on wood.
What I'm saying is like, you just, I know it's a fucking TV show, right? Sure. I know it's a challenge, but on the same note, I'm not fucking around when I said that on Reddit. I would rather die than quit. And someone was like, a real leader knows when to quit, going back to that convo, right? And I just thought to myself, like, how fucking, and I thought about it. I'm like, just because that is your mentality, don't project that shit onto me. I will not fucking quit. Like, I'm not going to. I said in the beginning, ambulance or extract, right? Like you told me, ambulance or extract.
Yeah.
There's no in between. There's no fucking life sucks. You know what? It's going to suck. Maybe it sucks tomorrow. It might not.
Yeah.
Right. And
I miss my kids. The ones that kill me the most are when they take on some type of an injury, like they get a burn or they sprain their ankle, or I mean, some of them have legit issues. I think one of the girls like tore her MCL in her knee.
Oh, she fucking
like
got a fracture.
Yeah, she fractured her leg.
Dude, that was
but
fucking
like
crazy.
a lot of them, once they're like stuck in camp for a while and they're not getting to do the things that they wanted to do. They're not getting to build the shelter or build the fire or do the things that they're like, well, I don't want to be a burden. I'm just going to leave. It's like, well, there's a lot of shit at camp you can still do.
Yeah.
To take the load off of everybody else.
I think in Rachel's instance, she literally every day, like,
she toughed it out for a long time.
Bro, dude, honestly, dude, she's a G, bro. She's a G. Like, and she even brought it up a couple of times. Hey guys, I'm not doing much. I feel like I'm sorry, you know, and then we'd be like, shh, we're good. Like, I was like talking to Candace. I was like, I'm good with it. She's like, I'm good with it. And she's like, thank you guys. So she just, bro, she couldn't even
look for work.
No, she couldn't even get up to use the restroom, dude. We'd have to help her up, but she was still with her leg up, tending to the fire.
Dude,
what a badass, bro. Dude,
find
such
something
a badass.
that you can do. And instead they end up leaving and ditching everything on you.
Hers honestly was she freaking broke her tibia, dude. She broke her tibia and tore her meniscus. And it had been like that for multiple days. Like, what a badass, dude. You know, I know males that would be legit, like, dude, that's you know, hard. I seen guys, on this hike I just did, I saw dudes rolling their ankle and they would just kind of kick it. Like, they're like, I'm done. Throw me in the truck. You know, you're like, come on. I know a chick that broke her freaking tibia for like 6 days.
Yeah, you can't walk, crawl.
Yeah, dude.
You can crawl.
Yeah.
You can go get firewood. You can tend the fire.
Yeah. And, but yeah, man, on the fucking quitting concept, there was this dude, I kind of went back and forth and I started thinking to myself, like, you know what? I was like, I'm done talking about this. Like, you're not going to convince me to fucking quit through your banter. Fuck that. And then some other dude jumped on there and was like, hey, what's going on? Justin, you did great on the show, blah, blah. And he says something like, hey, brother, don't try and beat it into their heads. You have to understand. And the way he was talking, I could tell he was like some form of soft. And he's like, for those that are in the soft community, they understand or they get it. You'll never pretty much like, you'll never be able to push that into someone else's head. And he's like, that's the whole concept is like, if you know you're about to fucking die and you can still pull the trigger till the last second, don't be like, guys, I can't pull the trigger. I'm going to die. No shit. You're going to die, bro. But you know that. Accept it and don't quit. Just keep going, bro, because it's going to help us survive maybe forever, you know?
Sure.
But if you just fucking, I can't do that, and you just break down and you quit, maybe we all die now. Because all it took was as we're carrying you, right, is for one motherfucker to be capable and engage and hopefully not die. And then, you know, that story, you've heard of shit like that, right? In war and like humans are resilient. And so he said something like that, you know, to that extent on Reddit about, you know, hey brother, they don't understand. And I was like, you know what? You're right. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you quit. And that's why I you know, it doesn't matter. It's a fucking Reddit combo, but it really stuck with me because I feel like the average person in general is like, what do you mean you would rather die than quit? And it's like, it's a fucking mentality, dude. Like I still wear, dude, I got out so long ago. I still wear this shit. Like, why?
I wish I knew where mine was.
Yeah. I mean,
your hog's tooth?
Yeah.
Is that the one they gave you?
No, actually.
You had to get another one?
Yeah, I had to get a second.
I'll have to get another. I don't know where mine was. I thought I had it in my safe.
But I did get this one from the schoolhouse. They like, I met up with somebody outside in town and they like meet me at this parking lot at this time. And he was an instructor at the time.
That's cool.
But yeah, dude, it's a fucking mentality, dude. And I'm going to hold that with me till the day I die.
Well, you didn't quit. You know, you did get super sick.
Sick as fuck.
Yeah, you were super sick. What did you have to do when you got out? What did they give you? Antibiotics? Did you go to the hospital?
I took a bunch of pills. Yeah, I went to the hospital. They definitely hospitalized me.
Yeah. How long were you in the hospital for?
Day-ish. Right. Okay. And so.
How long did you have to stay before you could fly home?
Oh, fucking days.
Really?
Bro, oh God, I was sick. Yeah, like it's crazy because I was out there and I was like, you're so high on adrenaline. You're like, I don't give a fuck. And everyone's like, hey, dude, you're dying. You're fucking breaking down. I was like, stay primal. And everyone's like, I was actually, when I made it to the boat, again, they can only show so much in a certain amount of time. But yeah, they had an emergency, like a fucking actual ambulance, and the waves were so bad, they couldn't dock it. Right, the waves were fucking crazy, and so they grabbed like the medic was a rescue swimmer. She's like, "Hold my hand, we're gonna swim to the boat." And I was like, "No, I'm not." And I just fucking swam to the boat, all fucked up, all sick, and I'm just high, like on adrenaline, like let's go. I'm on the boat. I'm joking around. We get to the hospital. They kept trying to stick me with a needle, and they couldn't find my vein. And so they like wrapped my arm in a band and they made me go like this for like 10 minutes and they made me chug 2 bottles of water. They're like, you were so dehydrated, we can't find your vein.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, right? Like the second I got meds and the second that I knew like, hey, you can let your guard down a bit. You need to recover. You need to relax. And the second that I accepted that I was like kicked off the show and sick, holy fucking shit, dude. It was like, I think I spent like 4 days after, you know, in a hotel, just literally like shivering. Like, dude, I'd wake up and like pools of sweat every day. And I'd take all these pills that fucking, they like, actually were pretty terrible. Like, I feel like the meds fucked you up too, you know? It's really hard on the body, but, you know.
Just trying to kill whatever was in you.
Yeah. So, fuck yeah, here we are, right? Fucking made it. Like,
so then you came back and were you doing comedy before that? Or
yeah, man, I've been doing like 4 years of comedy.
Okay.
You know, the whole goal is obviously you get better. You just keep going and definitely having some TV credits now. People are booking me on shows now like, oh, this next guy you see on Naked and Afraid. So now I have 10 minutes on Naked and Afraid, right? And then I got 10 minutes on the Marine Corps. And then just as you get better, you're like, man, I know that I still say like edgy and raunchy shit, you know, but it's funny because the whole process with comedy, excuse me, and you hear with other people is, oh, you're not gonna be joking about that in a year. You're like, yeah, I am. I'll never change. And then like you watch your old stuff and you're like, dick balls, pussy, haha. And everyone's like, cool. That guy started comedy yesterday and he's literally saying the same shit. Evolve. Yeah. And you're like, okay. So you got to just find ways to get better and more creative, you know.
Well, that slapstick Marine humor, I mean, we get a kick out of it, right? Because the audience is mostly Marines when you're doing that stuff. But as that audience grows, you've got to...
Bro, you're not going to watch a comedy special 1 hour. You're not going to watch Dave Chappelle for an hour straight just talk about his dick.
Right.
Just no one's going to fucking watch it. They're going to be like, hey, cool, man, but you've been doing this shit 20 years and you can't find a more creative way to make people laugh.
Sure.
So it's like the easiest thing to talk about because everyone's got a funny story about their dick, right?
Well, raunch comedy is, it's not going to be a long-term strategy.
No. But it's a good way to like start developing and everybody's like, there's a process. I'm only 4 years in, dude. Like still pretty fucking green. I have a friend of mine based out of Austin. Her name's Vanessa Gonzalez. I was her best friend in high school. She is on tour with Chelsea Handler. Hilarious. Like she made it in comedy. She's making like lots of money doing comedy, right? And it's funny because she was based out of LA for the longest time. And I was in LA this weekend and I got put up on 2 guest spots, right? I did like 2 little small shows out there. And I was like, cool, let me check out the scene. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so saturated. And people are like competing, like paying money so they can do time. Not on this show, but I found out people pay money to like do a mic.
Really?
Versus like open mic.
Getting paid. Or
getting paid. They're paying to like, please listen to me, right? Because it's so competitive. So I sent her a message like, damn, I just checked out the scene in LA and holy fucking saturation. And then she sends me back laughing my fucking ass off. What do you know about saturation, comma, rookie? Like, she's like fucking with me, right? But she's been doing it like 15 plus years. She's
That's
like,
she? Wow.
Yeah, she's like, oh, that's cute. Saturation, like, motherfucker, that was my life. I know she was living on like a studio floor, sharing a room with somebody when she was like in LA. And now she made it. She literally made it in comedy, right? So same shit though. There's a process. you know, and I'm on year 4 of the process. And the difference is I have these TV credits now. And, you know, they've given me these big ass shoes to fill when I'm only fucking 5'5", right? But yeah. Anyway, they give me these big shoes and they're like, hey, you're going to get a spot. Like I've done several spots now where it's like 400 or 500 people. It's like, oh, fucking A. Or I've had 2 headliner sets that were 30 minutes a pop. And to be real with you, fucking both of them were mediocre, right? Because I've been doing this shit 4 years. And I'm saying that being my hardest critic. I know people that were like, hey, you did great or you did good. But then I did one like 2 weekends ago. I did a 30-minute spot. And it was my first one that I can confidently say I did well. Like, fuck yeah. But it took me those first 2 fumbles at 30 minutes to finally be like, just slow the fuck down. You're not letting your like, at least what I took out of it, you're not letting your jokes, like you get up there, you're nervous. You're like, I gotta talk for 30 minutes. How the fuck do I talk for 30 minutes? You're kind of just rushing through your shit.
Sure.
And you're literally telling yourself, slow down. And you're just not authentic.
Yeah.
And then you do it twice and you're like, dude, it's not gonna be worse than the last 2 times. And then it's funny because I have like 7 bits that I was gonna run through in like a 30-minute period. And the first 2 sets that I did, I ran through all of it. And was like, fuck, like, where'd I go from here? You know, hey, any questions on Naked and Afraid, right? And in this last one, I was like, slow the fuck down. Let your shit settle. I did a 30-minute set. I got through 3.5 of my bits, and they were like lighting me, like, yo, you got to get the fuck off stage. So ended it on a big pop. Thank you, Justin Governale. And I'm like, damn. And then the guy that I do a lot of shows with, Edward Hernandez, he got me in the comedy. He's hilarious. He was in the Navy, funny dude. Then he robbed jewelry stores and he got caught and he did 7 years.
Wow.
And he turned his whole life around. And now like people do stupid shit and you know, he'll be, hey, get the fuck away from me. I can't be around that shit right now. And he'll like walk away.
Good for him.
He's hilarious, dude. He's got a whole bit on like going, but this guy got me into like he's been kind of like showing me the ropes, if you will. I hate to use the word mentor because I'm like, at one time, yeah, we had like this thing we talked, he's like, if you ever call me mentor, dude, I'll fucking punch you in the mouth, right? Like joking. But
well, it's good to have somebody that's been there.
Oh, he's definitely
where you're
showing me.
going. You know, you need that.
And he's getting
Otherwise,
me on these
you're gonna screw it up for way longer.
Yeah.
You know, these lessons that he's already learned, if he can hand them down to you, and that goes for anything that anybody wants to do. Like find someone who's already doing it.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot more people are willing to turn around and help others. But there's like an intimidation. Were you afraid? Did you know him before then? Was it intimidating?
No, I met him through comedy.
To try to ask somebody to help you?
I would
Was
just do these shows
pretty supportive?
and I think he kind of like saw, because we have, in comedy, you have like, at least what I've learned, you have like 2 types of comics. This is my theory, first of all, if there's another comic watching. But like you have your joke teller and you have your storyteller, right? And it's actually pretty difficult to have one that's good at both. Like there's for sure rarities, but more so think of any comic that you know and they're either a joke teller or a storyteller. And what I do is I tell stories and I add tags. I'll tell a story. I already know it's a funny story and it's interesting, but I can't talk for fucking 5 minutes on this story and expect you to laugh the whole time. You're going to laugh at points.
Sure.
So what you do is you add as you tell the story over and over again, you start adding little pops. You call them tags in between, right? And so he's the same kind of comic. And so he's kind of like, hey, I'm a storyteller. Like, so he starts taking me on the road with him. And I've done like multiple cities with him. And, you know, he's kind of showing me the way. But I just did this last one. He did the one that I headlined. He is actually on my show. And I felt like all the pressure I threw on all these funny comics. There's even this chick, Christina Mariani. She tours with Theo Vaughn, and she fucking killed it. Everybody killed it. Raul Sanchez killed it. Tori Poole, it doesn't matter. Tori Poole, Alex Reyes. I had all these comics that are headliners on my show, and then I was headlining because I was asked to headline. I even said, hey, I can maybe do another spot and have this guy headline. They're like, no, we want you to headline. I'm like, shit. So I'm giving these big fucking shoes.
Great. That's
I'm
great.
giving these big shoes, but I'm fucking 5'5", right? My fucking average size penis, you know? And fucking anyway. But it's rough because you got to fill that spot. And, you know, I fumbled it and Edward was on my show. Then I was given another opportunity the following week and I did 30 minutes. And I did so much fucking better, right? And it took those first 2 fumbles. So now I'm like, all right.
You've got to fumble.
You have to.
You have to. Those failures are where you learn.
Yeah.
And then you go back and you watch yourself and you like, oh, I should have said that a little bit different.
Yeah.
Or I need to slow myself down, like you said.
That dude, Raul, Raul Sanchez, he's an Army veteran. He like was an infantryman.
Yeah.
Like fought pretty hard, right? He's got like all these bits on like fighting. But anyway, bro, I saw him. Another thing that I learned is I've seen him do like his spots where he gets like 10 minutes and he's a headliner. And before I went up, there's another comic, right? Josh Cabaza, he's here in Austin. He was like, oh, how long are you doing? 30? How long is Raul doing? We were giving him 20. I'm just telling you right now, you give him more than 10 minutes because it takes a while for like the audience to like know what kind of comic you are till they can start laughing and know that they could trust you. So he's like, 10 minutes, great. 15 is his happy spot where like he's going to start winning that crowd. You give him more than that, cuffs are off, he's going to bury you. Just telling you right now. And I was like, well, I'm giving him 20. He's like, okay, just letting you know, sure as shit, I gave every comic 20 minutes, all headliners, all hilarious. So one of the big takeaways that I learned, and I will always put fun. If I ever build a show, I'm going to always make it a banger lineup. And some comics, what I've noticed, what they'll do is they'll take someone they don't think is as funny as them.
Yeah, they'll sandbag. So
they'll sandbag so they could be the feature. Everyone, I don't give a fuck about that. I want you to enjoy the show. A, B, it's going to make me start to fill those shoes and maybe I'll grow an inch, right?
For sure.
That'd be great. But maybe one day I'll get to say I'm 5'6", dude.
I think a lot of people just have a hard time ever stepping on the stage.
Yeah.
It's because they're afraid to fumble.
Yeah, I had a fumble those first 2 times, and then that dude Raul I've never seen him do as good as he did that day in particular. I was like, gee, and I got to follow that. And then Edward fucking killed it, and Tori killed it, and Christina
Why is it so difficult to follow someone who's done well?
All the
right?
pressure.
Like,
it's all the pressure, right?
Because the audience is already laughing. They're warmed up. They're relaxed.
Yes,
everything's funny.
To a point. You go up there and there's sometimes you say a joke a million times and it sticks. And for some reason, for me, it's the Marine Corps joke. Like I've got 2 jokes that if like I'm on autopilot when I'm up there, like if I'm not doing so great on a bit, I'm like, they're not into this shit. Pull the fucking plug. They're just not into this bit. I fucked up somewhere. They're not into it. There's a different kind of crowd. So you'll pull. And then as I pause, I've got my 2 get out of jail free cards. And like, I'll just kind of pause and be like, so I served in the Marine Corps during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. However, the Marines made me gay. And then and like, as I'm talking, I'm not even fucking, like I'm present, but I know more than likely the bit's going to work. And as I'm going, I'm adjusting. What am I going to talk about next? Because they didn't like the last shit you were going to talk about. I was going to use a callback and you're just up there and then you pause and you're like, all right, I wasn't going to say this tonight, but here we go. Right. And you're just, so what I'm saying is sometimes there's all that pressure because it's like killer. And they're laughing more and more. And then you get up there and you're like, and you can even open with like, so I started the Marines during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. However, the Marines made me gay, for instance. And then like, as you're going and then you say the tag, and then nobody laughs and you're like, oh shit. And then all of a sudden you're like, everyone's fucking killing it and I'm not. And you start getting in your own head. It's like, cause it's a performance, dude. You have to adapt. And so, yeah,
what's that feeling like when you bomb it?
Oh, fucking terrible, dude. Dude, the first time that I made it to the big stage in San Antonio. It's called the Laugh Out Loud Comedy Club. It's like the big club in San Antonio. They're like affiliated with like the improvs and stuff. And the first time that I made it, I was like, oh, thank you for the spot. And I think I did fucking 10 minutes. Yeah, I think I did 10. And I went up there and my dumb ass, I got up there and the first thing I did was, I made it to the big stage, everybody. This is my first time performing at the Laugh Out Loud Comedy Club. And everyone's like, woo! What did I really do? Hey, everybody, I don't really know what I'm doing. Don't trust me. Make sure you don't trust me because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah, you shot yourself in the foot.
And then, again, talking about like adjusting, the first thing I did was I attacked the audience, right? Because at the time, this was a couple years ago, I said something like, peak COVID, right? I was like, how are you super spreaders doing? And everyone's like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm talking about herpes. It's San Antonio. Nobody laughed. So first of all, I was like, nobody trusts me. And I'd done that at like bar shows and stuff, right? Herpes.
Don't drink after anyone in this room.
Yeah. And so so first thing I did was don't trust me. And then the second thing I did was, you all have herpes. And then nobody laughed. And then my whole presentation gets different. I start tensing up. And then I'm like, and I've got a bit on being a fighter, right? So I'm like, so I had an MMA fight recently. Well, here's the thing. They don't know who the fuck I am. I told them, don't trust me. And then I said, you all have herpes. Third, I'm like, I'm this fucking fighter. So I'm on stage, fucked up ears, tatted up. People are like, why would I trust this guy? Fuck this guy. And I just bombed for 10 minutes, dude. It was terrible. It was fucking terrible because the first time I made it, and I had never actually bombed before.
Yeah.
I've been doing well at all these smaller shows, and now you're giving me a couple hundred people, and I built it up in my head. And then, dude, I literally wanted to just stop my bit and be like, why is my face hot? Like, I've never gotten that. And so after I went to the back, and there's this comic, Dallas Van, right? I get to the back of the room, and he's like, damn, all the comics are quiet. And I get to the back, at the very, very back of the comedy show, it's always like the comics.
Yeah.
If you ever hear laughter only coming from the back of the room from them and no one else is laughing, you're bombing. And it's hilarious to them because they're like, fuck yeah, he's bombing.
They've all been there,
They've all been there.
Yeah, yeah.
So he looks at me and he goes, damn, dog, don't go shoot up a school tomorrow or anything. And I'm like, was it that bad? And all the comics are like, yeah. And I'm like, oh God. And it was fucking terrible. And then there's this other comic after, right? And he walks me, he's like walking me out, and he's like, I'm like, no, I did it. I bombed. And he's like, you're good, bro, you're good. And I'm walking out, and he's like, you wanna know what the worst thing that could happen to you is? And I'm like, what's that? And he's like, if you would have killed it. I'm like, really? Why? And he's like, what are you gonna go home and do? I'm like, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna fucking write. And I had never structured the way that I was gonna tell my bits. I would just be like, I've got A, B, C, and D, and I'm gonna talk about A, B, C, and D. But what you do is you're literally writing, dude. You have to segment your set, and you got to do callbacks, and like sometimes you got to have a plan B if this doesn't fucking work. Like if I go out there and I'm like my jab, how you super spreaders doing? I don't tell that joke anymore, right? But like,
good call.
Obviously, right? How you super spreaders doing? I did the same joke the next day at the same venue, and I had more time, and I did well, right? But what I learned was don't just assume that your jab is gonna fucking land. And so now you go, how you super spreaders doing? And I'm like, talking about herpes, it's San Antonio. Everyone started cracking up, and I was like, cool, I jabbed and it landed, so now I could keep jabbing and set something else up. But what I learned out of that is if you jab whatever it is and it doesn't work, self-deprecation. So I had an MMA fight here recently. Everyone, woo, yeah, give it up. I lost. Right. And you start kind of, so if you don't laugh at my jokes, I'll beat you up. Just kidding. I'll let you TKO me in the third round. And I'm like, oh, thanks, mom. Now they're like, this guy doesn't take himself too serious. He's doing a bit of self-deprecation.
Some psychology too.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't like to self-deprecate too hard because anybody that knows me, I don't give a fuck. I'm not a cocky dude. I'm a confident human, right? I have no problem making fun of me. You can make fun of me all day. But there's a thin line between like, having some humility and between literally shitting on yourself and attacking yourself. And when you start doing it for real versus just kind of poking fun at yourself, you start to believe that shit, right? And so anyway, that's my whole philosophy of that.
I like it, man. It sounds like the way your friend had gardening, which was something he didn't know, which is a challenge that comes by every year. You found purpose in something that's pretty deep, the psychology of all this, the work that you have to put into it and writing these bits and understanding an audience, the mindset of a mob.
Oh, the comedy? Yeah, dude.
Stepping up on the stage.
It's such a high too, bro. It's like,
I bet. Now, what's it like? You've told me the bombing, right? It sucks, but it's motivating. You could have either quit. I think the worst thing that could have happened is if you had quit.
Yeah. I mean, and what's funny too is people say, where do you want to go with comedy? I'm not sitting here saying, I'm going to be the next fucking headliner all over the world. Like, literally, I'm building my brand. I genuinely love comedy. And I feel like that's the reason right now that I'm doing well, right? And I'm getting these other opportunities. It's because and all comics do, but some of them I feel are in it to be the next whatever, right? And that is, if they believe and they think they're going to do that, fuck yeah. If they get it, badass, dude. Hope they get it. For me, I'm just enjoying the ride, dude. And even like being on Naked and Afraid, it's funny. I like made a list. I like wrote all this shit down about, I want to get off salary, right? That was my logic for leaving my previous employment, right? And I went to another salary job, but it was with different pay. and different time, right? I was 100% work from home. Well, it doesn't matter. But
what's a better position to be in to pursue the thing that you really want to do?
And I've got more financial freedom to do these things.
So that was the right move.
It was the right move at the right time, but I will let go of it at some point,
Sure.
right? When the time is right. And so for me, I'm loving the comedic journey, and I'm not sitting here saying I'm going to be the next headliner all over the country. I'm genuinely just building a brand, right? Even right now, being on this, right?
Sure.
People are going to know who Justin Governale is, right? Hopefully, right? And
5 or 6.
5 or 6, right? And, you know, comedy, it's kind of one of those pockets. It's like perfect. I'm given a microphone. I'm literally speaking to hundreds of people at a time, right? Until that number becomes thousands of people at a time, right? And it's the same thing right now. I'm currently speaking to thousands of people. And so the whole thing is I just wanted to build a brand. I've also fucked around my entire life. I've always been the clown. And the beautiful thing about comedy is no longer, as I grow more professionally in everything that I do, I can't be speaking on a stage to USA telling dick and ball jokes. You can't do it.
Yeah, that won't get you invited back.
Fuck no, dude. And it was I also signed an NDA, right? But excuse me, dude, it's lucrative. I've made way more than I've ever made with anything having to do with comedy. You know what I'm saying? For speaking for 30 minutes, it was 20, and then a 10 minutes Q&A. I made almost what I made on Naked and Afraid in like 30 minutes of my life, but I would have never gotten there if I didn't say yes to the Naked and Afraid. And before all this, I actually was talking to a guy that's very successful. He's a veteran, disabled. He's built an entire empire, dude. This guy does very well financially, all on his own, right? And, you know, I was talking to him, and he's like, you know what you need to do? You need to disappear, go to somewhere off the grid and bring a journal with you and write everything down. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and have realistic goals. Don't have these bullshit goals like I'm going to be a millionaire by next year. Have realistic fucking goals and have an idea of where you want to go, but don't write that one down. Have that as an idea and write all these obtainable incremental goals that are going to help get you there. And that idea can shift too, but write down obtainable things and go on a fucking trip. And I did that, and I wrote everything down and I journaled it, and it actually got published in Coffee or Die, right? It's called Chasing the Dragon.
Nice.
That fucking everything I wrote down got published. And then one of the things I wrote down was build your brand. And then I wrote get on TV. And I'm not one of those like manifests fucking, but like literally I wrote get on TV. And then you hit me up like, hey bro, I just got done with Naked and Afraid. I think you'd be great. Here's the link. I think you should apply. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Boom, fucking got on motherfucking TV, right? And so now with comedy, it's like, I'm just building the brand and I genuinely enjoy it. And if I do headline all over the nation, fuck yeah, dude. It's just an added bonus at that point, right? But I will be off motherfucking salary. And that's the whole goal.
Why is that? Why do you want to be off of salary so badly?
I want to do what I want to do at all times. You're still always going to technically work for somebody.
Sure.
But in terms of working for corporate America, and you're always going to have to watch what you say also to an extent. But, you know, it
doesn't appear to be an issue where you're at now. Do you feel like you have to watch what you say because of work?
No, I'm saying at work.
Oh.
At work, I got to be checked in. I got to be professional.
Sure.
You know, and it's not that I don't want to do those things. I just truly want to live my life, and somehow there's got to be a lot of work that's done in between. I hate when people like that, whatever. I was going to get into like an ex-girlfriend situation, but when people think that they should just live and get paid to exist, it's like, okay, where's the fucking work?
Yeah, your tits aren't that big.
What's up?
Your tits aren't that big.
Yeah, they're pretty big, dude. Look at that.
You can flex them nice.
Look at that. Anyway, but yeah, man, I just want to live my life and do the things that I want to do and somehow have them pay off monetarily. And one of them is comedy. You make people laugh. People give you money. You're like, wait a minute, it's kind of cool.
Kind of got to watch what you say though, right?
To a point.
Yeah, it's got to be funny.
It's got to be funny. It's got to be creative. If you're going to say an edgy word per se, it's got to be done with tact. Like you have to do it creatively. You can't just, and even those words in a lot of spots will get you canceled or you aren't allowed to say them. But if you do, they have to be done creatively. You have to set everything up, right? And you don't just say something offensive to be like, look at me and how edgy I am. if you say it in a certain manner, people are like, that's fucking good. That's creative. And then you can get away with it. And then you can say whatever the fuck you want. But if it's done for the sake of being an idiot, like happened recently in San Antonio, there was a dude that he dropped the N-bomb with a hard R, San Antonio. And then he looked right at a black dude as he said it. And so the guy walked up, rightfully so, fucking smacked him on stage, right?
Wow.
Rightfully so, with you know, hard R.
Will Smith,
stuff.
huh?
Yeah, but like that's deserved though. Like, and from what I understand is there was no I mean, not that you should be creative when you say, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there's certain things you can say.
There's rules.
Yeah, there's
you gotta
rules.
Watch what you say.
Also, don't ever say that fucking word, like ever, right? Just don't do it. He did it, and he didn't do it to be funny. He just fucking did it, and so he got smacked. And apparently he went outside, and they're like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And then he started defending his own actions, and all these dudes were like, "Hey, man!" And then apparently he was like defending his actions on why he said, and all these guys were like, "Well, fuck you," and they beat his ass.
Really?
Yeah, and then they made a statement. One of the big comedy clubs down there was like, "This man is not allowed." It's called Upstage Comedy, right? "This man is not allowed ever again at my comedy club, and if you book him at any of your clubs, I will never have you booked on our community as well, right? At Upstage." And then you're like, okay, again, there's rules. Also, don't be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And
there's always, like you said, you've always got a boss, but you know, being on salary versus
and so now
gigs.
there's the other F-bomb again, and we live in a society. It's never okay to say it. I hear comics say it all the time. The way in which they say it, framed creatively, then you're talking about a different ballgame. And I just said the F word. It could be, you know, it's just the F word. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. Segment it however you want. But like, if you're gonna say fuck for the sake of just saying fuck, like fuck, it's not funny. But if you say it in context a certain way, then it's funny, you know. And so yeah, there's rules. Pretty much the rule is don't get yourself canceled. Don't be a piece of shit.
Well, it's been fun to watch you, man. We've been friends for a long time. And watching you, you know, go from where you were, I knew you weren't happy. I know you were, you know, vetting for a couple of different agencies, trying to find your place in there.
I didn't want to do that shit anymore.
And you've tossed all that to the side because you found this passion.
Even right now, I would have never said that story about the when I worked, you know,
the contract. You couldn't have.
Fuck no, I would have been fried. They would have been like, "You said this, Justin. We cannot trust you." And now I'm like, I'm just speaking fucking facts. Man, if you don't want me to talk about it, don't fucking do it. It's pretty simple, right? Yeah. It's kind of just like we talked about. Yeah. You don't want to be on, you know, Naked Afraid. "Oh, I can't believe they edited me that way." Well, maybe don't say that fucking thing, don't and give them the ammo. Play it. Right? Same shit. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, man. It's been awesome. It's been a pleasure watching you.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
I look forward to your next shows. And anything else? What's your Instagram? What are your things that you're growing right now? Where can people find you?
At Justin Governale on Instagram, just my name, first name, last. On YouTube, I'm really trying to build it. Fucking A, that's a different story, but JJ Governale. Okay. I just went down to El Salvador and I just threw a bunch of fire at humans and they threw it back, and I paid a guy to fly out with me and film me, and we put together a solid video. Obviously, it's fucking cost money. It's the best piece of content I've ever put out. You know, I only have like 1,200 subscribers, but it's really good content, I think. It's just...
Is that the Stay Primal? What's your Stay Primal?
Oh, Stay Primal, that's my website. That keeps the dream alive, right? STA Primal.
Yeah.
Right? And when I was on Naked Afraid, I just kept saying, Stay Primal, right? And then I got out of the jungle and I Googled it. Freaking Liver King says it. And I was like, damn it. So I hit him up thinking maybe we can do a collab of some sort. And then all that shit happened when I was just like, all right.
With him, where he got caught with steroids?
Yeah, and that's his own thing. Like, I don't want to shit talk anybody in general. That's he's dealing with his own thing. I just thought...
Well, he lied to everybody. It's kind of a big deal. But
he says Stay Primal all the time. So I'm like, well, shit. I said that in the jungle. And the whole reason I was like, I'm going to get my way out of salary. Fuck. Someone else already says it. Wait a minute. STA, Stay Platoon, Surveillance and Target Acquisition Platoon was the original Scout Sniper Platoon.
Yeah.
Right? STA, Stay Primal, staprimal.com. Enter. Fucking domain is open. I purchased it. I started a company called Stay Primal, right? I should have been wearing my hat right now, but it's at home.
What do you sell on there?
Just merch for now, like hats, and I'm gonna be doing a spice thing it's called Grill Your Ass Off. They do spices, pretty dope. Yeah. He's another veteran-owned company, Grill Your Ass Off.
Okay.
I'm about to do a collab with him.
Cool.
and I'm considering maybe doing a coffee one, right? Because I need a consumable. You're not gonna buy a fucking shirt every month or hat every month, right? So my consumables, maybe spice, maybe coffee. And I'm just thinking all that stuff out. But again, this is all leveraging myself. I'm inching towards getting off salary, right? And honestly, a fuck ton of my money goes to rescuing and fostering dogs, right? And so,
yeah, I saw your post today of a couple of dogs.
Yeah, I'll like look at that face and I'll be like,
this makes me sad.
I'll be like, I don't want to share that because you're sharing too much about dogs. And I'm like, that dog has a fighting chance. And I share it. And dude, all the time people see that and they reach out, or they help. And so essentially, this isn't some bullshit cause either, like a realistic cause because I give so much money to the dogs. In my mind, I'm going to buy a big piece of property. I'm going to save a fuck ton of dogs and I'm going to employ veterans, right? As they're transitioning in life, maybe you just got out of the military. I do I vet you. I do like a background check, a mental capacity check. All right, this person's good to go. You're going to help me foster dogs. It's going to give you purpose, right? Are you on GI Bill? Do you need a side hustle? Here, boom. I've even like in my head thought about doing like a whole ass retreat where like, I can like house veterans there and they have all these like psychedelics. They have this, they have that. Not on my place. I'm saying other places have like lodges where the veterans go and they do psychedelics. Like I would like to have a lodge where you go and you just fucking volunteer your time and you help dogs and then I pay you a little bit of money. Maybe you fucking need help financially. You can't get a job. I'm like, cool. I got a job for you. Take care of these dogs and give them real care. And it'll teach you to love yourself in the process because you're loving something that, needs help. Right? I've got a whole story. It's on my YouTube actually. NBC did a piece on me on my first foster, how like I didn't cry in a decade. Right? And then I gave up my first foster and I got in my car and I was like, and I was like screaming and I'm like, wait a minute, I think I'm crying for more than just a dog right now. Like she broke me, And now it's like, cause I can relate. Like I slept on floors till I was 11, got a fucking house. Cool. It's the same thing. These dogs need help. They're still capable of love.
Didn't you just go get a dog from Guatemala?
I did. I fucking flew to Guatemala and I got a dog and I'm going to publish that piece of content later. But yeah, man.
Cool, man. Dog saved me when I got out.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
My family got me a German Shepherd puppy and my heart was hardened, man.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm saying. And then like, I don't have feelings. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. But dude, my grandpa died. I remember I was in a course trying to be in one of these agencies and I was taking like a course to like learn more CQB and all this shit. Right before I went into like my final fucking test for my shoot house, right before I got a text and I was like, hey, your grandfather died. And I remember being like, I don't have time, dude. I'm about to take this fucking test. In the military, what happens, right? Whenever some shit like, hey, brother, I'm so sorry. Hey, man, I'm sorry, dude. Oh, but you need to stay checked in. People die. You know that, man. You need to stay checked. Okay, yeah. And you're good and you deal with all that shit later. Your friends die.
Or they just don't tell you.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember the guy running the course, I think it's called Green Eye Tactical, former CAG guy. And I told him like, dude, my grandpa just died. And I like wanted to get a tear in my eye. And he looked at me, he's like, hey, brother, I'm sorry to hear that. And he's like, hey, you need to stay. You're about to finish the course, man. You could think about that in like 2 days. It's your final event, man. I'm so sorry for your loss, but I need you to just kind of focus. If you can't, let me know and kind of like, so I could take your fucking gun away. And I was like, I'm good. Yeah. Right. And I remember like a tear wanted to come out and I just went like this. I always do this thing. I would do this thing in the military. Like when crazy shit would happen, I literally would think about it and I'd let the emotions come up and I'd go, all right, I'm good. Just fucking checked out. Right. And that's what I did.
Compartmentalize it.
100%.
Stick it in a box.
Right. And so
build the box, shove it in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fucking worry about it later.
It will come back.
It will come back. It will come back. And so when I gave this dog up, I was like sobbing. I'm like, wait a minute. I think I'm crying for more than the dog right now. I was at her for 7 months, loved her. They were going to kill her. She wouldn't trust anybody. She would growl at everybody. And then all of a sudden, this guy calls me occasionally. He's another veteran too. He'll call me drunk on like a Thursday night at like midnight. And he'll be like, hey, brother, thanks for saving Mia, man. She's the best dog ever. And I'd be like, hey, I'm glad you love her, man. But I got to wake up in a few hours. I got to fucking work. I got to wake up early, And so, yeah, man.
It's a good cause. It's on the side of all these things that you're pursuing for you. You're doing something.
And it's genuine, man. I fucking love it. And they know, like, so this dog I brought back from Guatemala, I was like, I got really drunk and I'm drinking way less. That's another thing right now. You want to make it in life? Slow the fuck down on your drinking, bro. It's fucking poison. Yeah, and the minute you realize that, everything goes up. It's so much easier to just grab the drink and keep going than it is to have that discipline and be like, hey, chill the fuck out, right? Or if you have a couple and you start feeling buzzed, have more discipline. Anyway, yeah, go get water or whatever. But Yeah, I woke up, I was blackout drunk, and this is like a year and some change ago. And I woke up and I'm like, what happened last night? And I turn and there's a dog in my room. And I'm like, oh God, a street dog, all skinny. And I was like, all right, man, hey buddy, let me feed you. All right, go on your way. And he just literally followed me everywhere for 3 fucking days in Guatemala. So when it was time to leave, I'm like, I can't just let you fucking go back. He's skinny as shit.
Yeah.
So I paid a barista that was there at the coffee shop. I'm like, do you know anyone that works in dog rescue? She's like, I'll hold on to him until you come back. Dude, she watched him for like a whole ass year.
Wow.
I sent her money, right? But that was, so this can all be a mutual partnership. The dog wins, I win, I get to do what I love. She wins because it helps her out too.
Yeah.
And it just, and she did it. She didn't even ask for money, dude. She like was being genuine out of her heart. And, you know, I just know the American dollar goes a little further in Guatemala. So it really didn't hurt me as bad. And everybody wins. Everyone fucking wins. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I want to do. Build a business, not just me, like everyone give me fucking money. It's like, this is mutually beneficial. Everybody fucking wins, right? When you pay for a product, if you pay for water, you should not be thirsty after you're done drinking the water, right? Everything should be beneficial. And so that's kind of my goal, is like get this big picture thing going, have a consumable going, and save all these dogs, help veterans in the process, or humans in general that need help in the process, and fucking keep it going, right? So that's stay primal. That's like the whole thing. It's fucking
kill it, man.
right.
You're
And
doing great.
yeah, so JJ Governale on other handles like YouTube and TikTok, and then anything else would just be my name at Justin Governale.
Nice.
Yeah, dude.
Cool, man. Thanks for telling
Yeah,
me.
man. All right, dude.
Yeah. Stay zero.
Yeah, dude. Stay zero.